Alright guys, we're going to start it up soon. Thank you so much guys for showing up this morning to the beautiful Coffee Foundry. Norm is hiding, otherwise I would introduce his space, but this is actually a karaoke spot at night. I don't know if some of you guys had some interesting evenings here. I have. So Norm had the hindsight of changing the space during the daytime into a coffee shop, and he's been doing some really, really great stuff in the startup community or ecosystem here in New York. So they do a great series called Founders Fridays. Every single Friday they have a founder of a tech company come and speak. It's usually in the front area. I thought that I'd cram you guys in here like sardines so I could really get to know you. My name is Pavan. I'm the founder of Open Source Fashion. It's a community of helpful innovators that work at the intersection of fashion and technology. And just by doing quick stalking on everyone that's in this room, it seems like pretty much everyone does the same. So that's really cool. Thank you for coming through. This, of course, is Loni Edwards, and she is our first guest for Caffeine Convos, which is a new series we're going to be doing monthly on the last Wednesday of every month. So probably going to program the next 2 or 3 out within the next week, so I'll send you guys all the notification on that. Before we get into the program, I do want to introduce Rob Sanchez over here, the one with the beautiful hair that looks like Rob Stark. He has kind eyes, and he's also my co-producer of a podcast called Fashion is Your Business. We are, fortunately, the #1 podcast that covers the intersection of fashion and technology. So Rob, if you want to talk about that real 2 seconds, I guess.
Sure, yeah. So we're using the podcast to highlight a lot of people inside of the fashion tech ecosystem. So we're interested in everything from the business models that are coming out, the new technologies that are coming out, looking at some of the physical tech as well. So it's a broad range, and it's more of a morning show style. So we don't prep the guests. It's a free-flowing conversation. It's a lot of fun. And we have a counterpart American fashion podcast, which is the NPR, if that's more your speed. But so far we have 28,000 downloads in the last couple months, so it's growing rapidly. Linda, our head of brand partnerships, is here. So if you're interested at all, we do bring people onto the podcast as sponsors as well. So if your company is looking for anything like that, then there's the right person to talk to. But basically, it's been a great excuse to talk to all the amazing people in the industry.
Yeah, so beyond that though, Rob's space coming into this is he's a strategy officer for Manufacturing New York. So he has a lot of insight into the physical goods making things. So anyone that's making a product, he's a great person to kind of consult with. There's Norm. By the way, Norm, come in real quick, man. I'm sorry. So Norm is the owner of the Coffee Foundry. So if you guys have any, if you guys want to pitch getting involved in Founders Friday or any of the cool stuff that he has in the pipeline, that's the guy to talk to. All right, cool. So without further ado, we'll get into Loni. So obviously this is quite casual. If anybody has questions that are on parallel with what I'm talking about, feel free to jump in. I like to have discussions more than speeches. So anyway, already Lou. Oh, sorry, the Wi-Fi. Yes, this is important for a lot of folks. So the Wi-Fi is the Coffee Foundry guest, and the password is just, is it Coffee Foundry or the Coffee Foundry?
Coffee Foundry.
Just Coffee Foundry, all lowercase. And we'll take a pause for 30 seconds.
Coffee Foundry social media handles.
Are they on social yet?
They have Twitter.
They do have Twitter?
Yes.
Get it.
I remember what it is.
Get it, Dave. So there's also a dog here. This is Chloe, guys. And Chloe is a celebrity mini Frenchie, by the way. Can be seen on red carpets everywhere. So she's not able to speak today. She's not feeling well. But if she could speak, she would say that her handle is Chloe_the mini Frenchie. And that's Instagram. So if anyone takes a picture, she really does like to repost and comment and stuff. So,
and Coffee Foundry is just Coffee Foundry on Twitter.
Thank you. Okay, cool. Good deal. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then we'll get into a conversation.
Okay. So I'm Loni Edwards. I'm the founder of Empowered. It's a tech-enabled fashion line based here in New York. We have bags with built-in battery power to charge your phone and other portable electronic devices on the go. We also have a utility patent on that intellectual property law. And I'm currently writing a book about my transition from law to entrepreneurship and covering a bunch of former lawyers who have gone on to do other things and managing this little one in my free time. That's kind of like an overview of what I'm doing right now.
So when Loni and I first communicated, she was founder of Stitch Collective. And it's interesting with Stitch Collective, it was basically empowering people, like democratizing fashion, right? If you heard that before. So you vote up designs. It helps people plan their production. She also assisted through that platform. To organize manufacturing as well as logistics and whatnot. So
that was my first foray into fashion. I wanted to kind of create this platform where people could have a say in what was made. So we work with editors from fashion magazines to create these design challenges, announce them on the website. Designers from around the world would submit sketches, and then we'd open it up to voting. And then we take the winning design, have it made here in New York, and then available for sale on the website. Through that, I kind of was always running out of power. So I was running around the city doing meeting to meeting. I didn't have an office, kind of relying on my phone for everything. My phone would be dead by noon. And so I made the first prototype of an empowered bag for myself, just to kind of get through the day without having to find power outlets everywhere. And so it was kind of, made it kind of for myself, and then it was the interest that people had in the product that kind of led it to become a company. When I'd go to meetings with editors for Stitch, they'd say, but what's that? Like, I'm interested in that product. And so I decided to launch that just based on the interest that I saw in the market. And then that quickly surpassed Stitch in sales, and so kind of pivoted based on the feedback I was getting from people, kind of shifted focus.
Yeah, I think that's really important, is to have the hindsight, not only to have a great product, of course, but to figure out when you need to tweak that to really make it effective. Because like the smallest changes in businesses, as most of you probably know and read about or experienced, makes all the difference, right? So that's why UI, UX is a thing. And there's so much effort and money poured into it. But what I found really interesting about Stitch Collective is that early on, so now you're seeing Makers Row, right? Makers Row is obviously a big thing. They have a database of a consultancy and a database of different local manufacturing depending on where you are in the U.S. I could almost see that almost being tangential to Stitch Factory. And then when you get into also where she was kind of doing the democratization of fashion, there were other companies doing it at the time. I think Fashion Steak was there, and there was Before the Label more recently. But that could also now there's a whole industry on mass customization, right? Not saying that that's where you were going, but it kind of is on that tangent, right? So of course she had all that foresight, but what I was impressed with is that she actually turned that real quick and was just like, you know what, forget it. Like this is the opportunity, and understanding the opportunity and where the energy is and harnessing that energy and then taking the momentum, I think is really, really important. So that's why you're our first guest. So beyond that, we were having coffee maybe within the month, right? Mm-hmm. And tell me about Empowered Bag, and I'm like, yeah, this is great. I heard about it, I've read about it, and I said, what else? Like, tell me what else. And she's like, oh, well, right now I'm like, I'm kind of working a lot on the licensing because I own the patent to chargeable devices inside of an accessory. I said, what the fuck? I was like, what do you mean? You own the patent for chargeable devices inside of an accessory? She's like, just that. I said, overall, anything charging. She's like, yep. It's like, if I wanted a Mophie pack and stitch it up in my briefcase, you got it? She's like, yep, you got to license it. I'm like, holy shit, that's a really big deal. So I'm curious to hear about when you had the foresight to do that before anyone else did, because, again, it's a pretty new company. You started this in January 14-ish?
Last January.
So
launched it, hasn't worked yet.
Yeah. Now it's like, yeah, duh, obviously we need charging inside of our bags and things like that, but she really pioneered that. And not only did she pioneer it, but she owns it. So now, going forward, the patent process, what was that like, and how are you kind of dealing with that journey?
Yeah, so coming from the legal background, I think it's important whenever you're switching careers to kind of think about what you have, what experiences you have that you can repurpose and use in a new way. And so being in the fashion industry, I had that legal background, and so I knew that, well, I thought this was going to become a big thing and everyone was going to want power, and so thought back to my legal training and how to protect that and how to make sure that if I'm investing all this time and energy into creating and inventing this thing, that another company can't come out like 4 months later after seeing this with the product that kind of, they have a bigger budget, they can kind of do all this press and marketing and just kind of kill my company. So taking what you know and using it in a new, inventive way, I think is very useful. And so that's basically what I did. I took my legal background, knew that it was important to protect this before coming out with it and announcing it and making this big push. So got all the patent documents filed pre-launch. Did prioritize tracks, a guaranteed decision within a year, yes or no on the patent. And so the goal was to create this brand, show that there's demand for this product, and then work with bigger brands to license it and grow that way. So I didn't raise money for the company, so it was a bootstrap company. You're very limited in what you can do, so we didn't have a PR company, we didn't have a marketing budget, didn't really, once in a while I'd buy like a Facebook ad here and there, but really everything's been word of mouth.
She had no PR, but she's in Forbes, she's in, I mean, you're in every Business Insider, I saw you, and it's not even fashion, and I know you have the fashion media locked down also, but I mean, you've been featured everywhere. So, yeah, so I mean, how did you do that then on the PR side by yourself?
So I think repurposing a lot of Stitch and kind of putting, so when I launched Empowered, I sent out email blasts on the Stitch Collective listserv announcing this new sister company. And so I think a lot of the people that had been following Stitch all of a sudden saw this new company and were interested by this new tech component. And the first week of launching, we had inbound press requests from everyone from fashion magazines to NPR. I was on NPR the next week, to Fox Business. It was kind of surreal. I kept checking my email. I was like, really? Is this like every 2 seconds? It was like another inbound press request, and it was. I think because it was this new, useful concept. The price point was great. They're made in New York, but they're sold at essentially wholesale price. So the margins aren't great, but it was a very accessible price point for the value and what the customer is getting. And I think just the novelty of it and the attractiveness of the bags. I think when people thought a bag that charges your phone, they were thinking this very techy, not fashionable. Sorry, here, show and tell. This is one of our bags. This is the tote, and then a wristlet inside here too. So they don't look like they are tech items. Like they're something you'd want to carry, not just for the functionality. So I think that resonated with people. So basically, repurposing. Since I didn't have the budget to have the PR and marketing, repurposing everything I could. So the Stitch listserv, anyone I knew who was in media or had big social media accounts, like please post this, and kind of relying on my friends and doing anything I could without the budget. And I think the Stitch thing helped a lot because we had a solid listserv from that. So a lot of people were engaged. The sales were amazing from Stitch Collective. We have a lot of voting and a lot of designer submissions, so we had a solid base there, and kind of repurposing that base was helpful.
Now, going back to, oh yeah, sure. What do you got?
I didn't interrupt.
No, it's fine. First of all, if you're going to say something, you have to announce yourself. Introduce. And what do you do?
I am designer and doing a fellowship on design and tech in the area of wellness and well-being. And I have a question. It's like, when did you decided to do the patent? Because was it with the working prototype and then the patent, or the patent and then the working prototype?
Had a working prototype, yeah. So it was based on that. The drawings and the patent were based on that first.
Okay.
So having the patent is one thing, right? But how are you defending it now? Because it's not really. No, you're good. It's a good. I mean, defending it is going to be the biggest thing, right? Is whether you could actually make a case for the patent itself. Like, what type of, obstacles are you, approaching or trying to hurdle over with that?
So talking to companies that are having a new product and working on licensing discussions and trying to deal with them directly before doing anything.
Let them know that there is a patent out there.
Announcing the patent's the first big step. Letting people know that there is this patent out there, and then going.
Well, how many people here knew that there was a patent for charging, stuff inside like a charging device inside of an accessory? So, if any of us, being innovators in this space, went out and said, okay, well, I wanted to add, charging capabilities to my product line, without unknowingly, right? How are you
Well, it's always
dealing
good
with that
when you're creating something to search, whether it's searching for patents, trademarks, make sure what you're about to create isn't already done and protected by someone else in some form of intellectual property law. So that's always the first step if you're starting anything. But yeah, so it's people have done it without realizing it, approaching them and letting them know and going from there.
That's tough. It's like finding needles in haystacks, right? A lot of the times. Go for it, Natalie, right?
Yeah, Natalie. My name's Natalie Gagnon. I'm visiting from North Carolina.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, so looking to maybe move to New York.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently in the furniture industry, actually, but trying to maybe look into startups. My question is, did you have the patent finalized when you launched the product, or was it still in process?
Still in process. So it's patent pending when we launched.
Okay. And when the patent pending process, so you said you did a year fast track.
Mm-hmm.
Were you weren't worried that something, like, what if the patent fell through? Like,
I just wanted to know sooner rather than later. I didn't want to work on building this for like 3 years and then find out that we can't protect it. And so I just wanted to know. It's definitely a risk because if you're going to know, then it's like, okay, no. But at least you know, and you can go from there.
what would maybe cause them to turn you down potentially? Like,
so it goes through a very long process with the patent office determining whether it's novel and new, and so if they don't determine it to be that, then I mean, it's a very complicated process, but very easy, condensed version.
How long did it take you?
So about a year. Yeah. So
Okay.
we did the prioritized shop.
How much money did you drop into a patent?
A lot of money. Basically everything. So basically all the proceeds from the sales of the bags went into the patent costs. So at the end of the year we had like this little minuscule profit, but we had the patent, so it was worth it.
Is it only U.S.? Or
You have to introduce yourself. You can't just speak.
Sorry. My name is Natalia. I currently work in Singer Taylor, multitasking, doing anything from product management to some production and merchandising and buying. And I'm looking to transition to a fashion tech startup. So if anyone is looking for a person who's, wearing
What's your question, Natalia?
Yes. Is it U.S. only? Because I know another company in Australia that
We filed for international.
as well. So reach out to handbag butler.
Not talking about any companies here.
Just want to. Yeah, I didn't know because I know that they're like looking to sell there.
I guess we'll switch focus from the patents,
Sorry.
right?
Yeah.
And then we'll go.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all
I
right.
don't know about this company that-
Understandably, that stuff probably would be. I could imagine it being sensitive as far as names and cases. So,
Okay.
I guess now, on a day-to-day, you're obviously not making handbags right now. You're hanging out with us. Where are you in that stage of the cycle as far as your personal hands-on involvement with Empowered Bags?
Yeah, so we still have bags that are on the site, so still dealing with that portion of the business. A lot of time is spent with licensing negotiations. I have a good licensing agent who's kind of managing those licensing discussions. And then writing a book, which is taking up a lot of my time too, which is not really fashion tech, a little bit, because it's kind of my transition. So doing a lot of interviews for the book. It's taking up a big bulk of time, and then this one has a lot of events that I bring her to, which also takes time. So every day is totally different. It goes from working on the Empowered, whether it's the brand itself or the licensing, to working on the book, yeah.
Is anyone in here manufacturing a physical, like a tangible good or a consumer item? Okay, and out of you guys that are there, how many are day-to-day working on that physical item? Okay.
You mean
How?
manufacturing?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that if I'm manufacturing a product, I wouldn't have so much time to write books and speak and stuff. How did you get to a point where you've kind of rigged yourself, where you're able to rely on a good team? Like, how was that process of building to this point, where in a pretty short amount of time, you're able to kind of focus your energies on more outbound stuff?
Yeah, so for the past year, all my time was spent going to the garment district, buying leather, walking into the factory, ordering hardware, testing new materials, walking them to the garment district again to get plated, bringing them to the factory, going and QCing, and we were doing production like every 2 to 3 weeks, and so constantly back and forth to the factory, working on new designs, picking new materials. And so basically 100% of my time was wrapped up in the manufacturing process. And part of that was because we were made in New York and it was very hands-on. I tested working with factories overseas, both China and Mexico, and stuff we were getting back was not so great, and so decided to continue doing things here. I also liked that I was able to go to the factory on a regular basis and check in and have that relationship with the people that are actually sewing and making the product and really understand the production process and what's happening, and come up with new designs and styles and fabrics very quickly, because I go to him, he'd make a sample that day, and then we'd have new things if we needed some bags and some special leather to send out for something.
Do you have consultants now working on the manufacturing side?
No, so right now we've kind of paused manufacturing temporarily while working on these licensing negotiations.
Okay,
just because the cost to manufacture and the price point we were selling at, the margins were so small for the amount of time and effort that was going into production, that can grow much faster by partnering with other bigger companies that have massive teams and own factories and have people handling all that and really have that process down. Like, coming from a legal background, I'm not an expert in fashion design or sourcing or any of that, and so it's kind of like learning on the cuff, and being able to partner with these bigger brands that really have that down is a better way to grow.
Now, there is somebody in the audience, and I'm forgetting who exactly or the name of the company, but you guys work on some sort of sourcing from China, and you make it easy on manufacturers here. Is somebody here with that background?
Yes. We kind of did that.
Yeah, I think that's you guys. All right, so can you explain your company out a little bit?
Our first business model. My name is Mason Clement. We do Smarticus now. It's like
Absolutely, yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's basically accessories for phones and tablets for the worker on the go. Everything's lightweight, but it also looks nice. Like, these are our headphones, so it's not just like electronic accessories, like fashion accessories. So we felt this was a great fit. But actually, our first business model was we would make products for other people in China, and it was very difficult to kind of make money with that model, so we did that pivot to make our own products. But we were in China for a couple years, and I'm fluent in Mandarin, so I'd speak with factories and work out the whole process, and they do quality control. It's a lot of work.
You're basically a liaison. I mean, you're almost like a contract manufacturer now, right? So you right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
that's great.
So.
Good job, guys.
Yeah.
So yes, your name?
I'm Lulu. I'm currently working as a data analyst at YP.com. We mainly do real-time bidding on advertisements on ads.
Okay. Yeah.
And so forgive me if I need a run to work after this question.
No worries.
So my question is that have you ever approached your design by thinking about more technically? Because I know some company are innovating on wireless charging accessories. So have you ever thought about in this direction?
Yeah.
Pads and stuff. Right?
Yeah, we're looking into that as well.
How about men's accessories?
Yeah, so that's with the partnership. So
okay.
Everyone's like, when are you making a men's product? When are you making a men's product? And our customer base was very women, and so kind of getting all these men to be interested in coming to our website, it's like a big marketing, PR expense, and not having the budget to do these things, being able to partner with companies that do make men's items and go at it that way is a better way, in my opinion.
Anyone else? So I'm going to open it up to straight up questions at this point.
Sorry, quick question too. I know you also make the little bags for the dogs, the bags right there. So is that something else that Empowered is also taking on, or is that?
That wasn't Empowered. That was just like
this whole separate project.
So Chloe made little leather poop holder bags, like little dog person. I thought were cute. That was just a fun.
That was just a fun thing. So you weren't planning on doing a whole separate line or something.
Just a fun product.
And then, what type of leather are you using? Like, where do you source it from? Argentina? Or is it China? Do you, for quality control purposes? I know your price point is quite low. So what quality are you assuring a customer for, the type of leather they're receiving?
Most of the leather we're using is from Italy. The reason the price point's so accessible is because we're selling it at the wholesale price. So we don't have that huge retail markup.
Right.
So it's like half of what it, or even less than that, what it would cost otherwise.
Harvey, a co-founder of Smarticus with Mason. I have a question concerning certification and safety issue for the license that you provide. Is it, for example, FCC, CE, is it going to change if you change each design of your bag, or is it something that if we license, we're free to go, it will be always safe to use?
Yeah, so the license is on the ability to add the power, and so the partners are able to choose their own supplier for the tech component.
Okay. So it's up to the customer to use your license to go through all the security and safety tests afterwards.
The companies aren't making the battery packs themselves. They're partnering with an established company, and it's just the integration.
Okay.
So the battery companies have gone through all that testing. It's just partnering them together.
I was wondering, like, for the first round of like inventory, did you have sales up front from like just a huge inflow of inquiries for like the?
Yeah, we sold out right away.
Was it on pre-sale or were you holding in stock?
We had stock and then switched once we sold out. We started doing pre-orders, and having the factory in New York made us able to have new production within a few weeks.
I noticed they import the batteries from some Chinese factory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we worked with the factory in China for the battery component.
Okay.
I'm Loni Johnson. I'm an e-commerce consultant. So I just have one question. When you're partnering with the manufacturer, is it like contract based, or do you have some part of equity in the company, or how do you?
Our manufacturer now in New York.
Yeah.
We're just paying for the labor rate.
Okay. No, I meant when you said you're partnering with other larger companies.
Oh, brands. Yeah, so we're licensing the patent to brands.
Okay.
So they pay a royalty that we negotiate with our licensing. Okay.
Chris Higgins, I'm a tech guy. We have an anti-counterfeiting device for fashion accessories. Did you guys straight bootstrap or any investment? No?
Straight bootstrap.
Nice.
It's tough.
Yeah, so essentially you're just approaching all these different brands and trying to get them licensed and get the royalties.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we got room for about one more question. Not about. We have room for one more question. Anyone get? Go for it.
Do you do wholesale?
So we can't do wholesale. That's why, because the cost to manufacturers, we want,
Oh, so you don't want to
direct to consumer.
Yeah,
what about international markets?
So right now we're focused on more of the licensing and the partnerships with bigger brands. But yeah, so when we were testing factories overseas, that was the goal, because we had a ton of inbound requests from everything from small boutiques to huge department stores wanting to carry the bags, and the quality we were getting back from these factories that we tested were not good enough to do full production runs, and we didn't find people like you guys who we could trust to go over and do it for us, and so yeah.
All right, so just a few announcements before we wrap up. Thank you so much, by the way. Also, this is my man Albert. I gotta say hi. So Albert was at my very first event for OS Fashion in 2011, and we've stayed close. Actually, before that, 2010. 2010. We met at a coffee shop randomly. He needed a charger for his laptop, but a charging accessory for his computer. But he at the time he was transitioning from an architect to photographer, and he's like, yeah, I'm interested in the fashion space. Now he's killing it for like LVMH and all these massive companies. Really, really talented photographer, whether it's like an offline event or product shoots, any of that stuff. So I route all my leads to him. Anyway, love you. So that's Albert. So really quick housekeeping. Follow us if you can. OS Fashion, Twitter and on Instagram. Of course, Loni's tags are up there as well. So we're going to do this monthly, as I mentioned. It would be great if you guys, spread the word to one or two good people in your network when it comes out. And so the other things we're working on this year as far as OS Fashion, we have communities in DC and Miami. We're going to be doing conferences there in the third quarter, actually going into the fourth quarter, November, December. And over here in New York, we're going to be doing one in November as well with LIM. In September, we host something called the Global Fashion Battle with Startup Weekend. And what that is anyone familiar with Startup Weekend? So Startup Weekend, we do a fashion technology vertical. We did this last year. We piloted it in September. We did it in New York, London, Paris, and Milan. Startup Weekends is basically you come with ideas, you leave with companies, and or developed ideas, really. And the winners from each of the Startup Weekends were flown to Poland last year for this grand finale in front of a huge audience, I guess attached to their arts and fashion forum. This year we're doing it with 20 cities. So if anyone's interested in participating in that, we'll also be sending out communication based on that. But again, the top 6 teams internationally out of the 20 cities will be, again, we're partnering up with the Arts and Fashion Forum out in Poland. So everyone gets a full expense week of incubating and fun out there. So that's what we have. We have a blog offline. If anybody has a very specific domain expertise and wants to lend their education, definitely talk to me about that. Opportunities with just submitting articles and this and that. But that's what we got. So thank you guys so much. Free to hang out as long as you want. But I apologize that we ran a little bit over. But I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thank you.
So yeah, bar's open.